Unitarian Universalist Church. Piedmont UU sits on the traditional land of the Catawba, Keawe, and Sugary peoples. We honor them. My name is Elaine Deck, and I will be the worship assistant this morning for the Reverend Dr. Amy Rio. We are a flourishing, vibrant, and radically welcoming congregation which promotes diversity, inclusion, and social justice. We provide a safe haven for creative intellectual growth, spiritual development, and a deep sense of community for all who join us. We hope our liberal religious values will encourage and challenge you to join us as a community that lives boldly and acts justly. To all of our visitors and our members, we're very glad you're here, whether in person or with us online, and we do hope to see you again because your presence is a gift to us. Our announcements for this Sunday: Reverend Amy will be away for vacation and study leave from July 14 through 25. And if you have a pastoral care or concern during this time, please contact Joys and Concerns at puuc.org. And for other items that need immediate attention, please contact BOT, that's like Board of Trustees, at puuc.org. We have a congregational meeting 2 weeks from today, immediately following the service. All members are encouraged to attend, and please check your email announcements for further information and details about that very important meeting. For other important information about our vibrant community, please see your order of service, or if you're on our email list, please check our monthly newsletter and weekly announcements. Whatever brought you to this place at this hour, we welcome you. May you find something you need, and may you leave richer in spirit than when you arrived.
Hear now these words from Sean Gibson. We light our chalice in the spirit of transformation. Nothing stays the same. Everything moving, shifting, changing. Guide us all to a wild and holy vision of our shared humanity. I invite you now to please join me in singing the words to lighting our chalice, the symbol of our faith. I invite you now to please rise and body your spirit for our call to worship found in your bulletin. It is a winding path which has brought us to this place and to this time. The twists and turns have beauty and joy, but also have pain and grief. We have circled around on life's journey with glimpses of wholeness and serenity. We have circled around on life's journey, at times feeling so far away, and sometimes fearful about where the path leads. For today, the path reveals a community of love and peace, of welcome and acceptance. For today, we are home, knowing we can always return, no matter where our footsteps go. Our opening hymn is found in our gray hymnal, number 124, Be That Guide. Please be seated. And I invite any of our little ones to come forward for a time for all ages with Miss Madia.
Good morning, good morning. I'm so glad to see so many faces up here with me today. Do you remember meeting this buddy? Yeah. Yeah, do you remember how last week we came up with some name suggestions? Yeah. So I've been thinking about what the most fair way of deciding this pig's name, and I thought the most fair way would be to pull it out like of a slip of paper, like a random slip of paper. Do you think that's the most fair way? Yeah? Can you think of any other ways that might be fair as well? How else might we be able to choose a name? Helping friends clean up is a very lovely thing to do. It's very nice. Yeah, we're going to pull a random piece of paper for our piggy's name. So I'm going to put our piggy on the floor with you guys. I'm going to let the piggy sit with you.
That's the pig.
I have a marker. We're going to write down all of our name suggestions. Then I'm going to rip them up and I'm going to put them in that little yellow container. And then we'll pull one and that'll be our pig's name. How does that sound? Okay, so some options that I know we have. Thank you so much. Some options that I remember from last week. I remember Chloe suggested Piggy. Is that right? Yep. I remember we had Amelia Pighart as one of our options, like Amelia Earhart, who was a really cool pilot. We had Baron von Bacon. That was a suggestion my husband gave us. I think that one's funny.
And we got Jet Pig, or
Jet Pig, Jet Pig. That was another one. Yes, that was Harley's suggestion last week. Do we have any other suggestions?
Jet Pig.
Well, we'll see if that one gets picked. We'll see. It might get picked, it might not. This way, everyone who has a suggestion has an equal chance of getting picked if we do it by random, right? Do we have any other suggestions?
Super pig.
Super Pig. That's a good suggestion. Any other suggestions? Do you have one? Rainbow pig. I like that one. What do you have? Sparkle pig. Do you have another one? Purple pig. What's yours? Jet pig. So we have jet pig. We already have that one written down, but I think that's a good idea. Yeah. Golden pig. Golden pig. Yeah, you have another one? Silver pig. Okay, I'm going to say ballot is closed. No more suggestions. We got a lot of suggestions. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to rip these into strips. We're going to fold them up and put them in this little yellow container. And then I'm going to let Reverend Amy pick the random name. That way it's completely random. I'm not picking. You're not picking. It's a totally random person picking. It is a pig picking. Dudums. Maybe next time we do this, I'll bring scissors to make it easier. I wasn't thinking about that. Or pre-cut strips. All right. All right, we're going to pick. Drum roll, please. Pick one at random.
I can't read my handwriting. I'm sorry. Amelia Pighart.
Amelia Pighart. Thank you. So we have a name for our jet pig. Our jet pig's name is Amelia Pighart, which I think is a super cute name for our new friend. It is a funny name. And today in our RE lesson, we're going to be talking about the UU value of justice. Does anyone know what that means? Justice? Any of you? I guess it's a good thing that we're talking about it in class today, huh? So, do you know what fairness is? No? You don't know what it means to be fair? What does it mean when something's fair? What does it mean? It means things are okay for everybody, right?
Like how we just voted. Fair.
Like how we just voted. It was fair. Everybody who had a suggestion got put into the pot, and then everybody had an equal shot of winning, right? So justice is when you make sure that everybody's voice gets to be heard. So sometimes you have to stand up and speak so then somebody else gets the opportunity. Sometimes you got to stand up and say, hey, we're not listening to everybody. We got to stop. We got to listen, right? So in our e-class today, we're going to be talking about justice and how we can lead with love at the center through justice. Yes, superheroes do fight for justice. That's a really good connection there. Harley always has the best connections. Best connections. All right, so are we ready to talk about justice? Justice, are we ready? All right, let's stand on up. What do you got to tell me? All right, let's head on to RE.
All right, lots of good energy for Jet Pig and our UU values. Really great. At this time, we are entering to a time where ritual and sacred sharing. We share joys and sorrows, concerns and milestones. We first light a candle for Susan B. with her ongoing health concerns. For all who've been impacted in some of the devastating flooding in various parts of the country in recent days. For everyone impacted impacted by ICE raids, for those who are standing up as allies, for people who are being taken, and also for those who have been imprisoned, that they might be able to have justice and to be treated in a humane way. For all who are suffering in Gaza and for the immediate relief of these conditions. For all areas of violence around the world, especially Haiti, the Sudan, the Middle East, and the war in Ukraine. For our country, that we might continue to work towards creating a society which is filled with love and empathy, civil rights and justice for every person. Now, at this time, you are invited to come forward as you feel called to do so. I invite you to come forward along the far wall. We have our prayer stand, and you may fill out a prayer card to place on that. You may light your own candle of joy or concern. You may place a stone in our shared water. We now light a few more candles for the things we hold in our hearts, which remain unspoken. and also for those who are joining us virtually to honor what is in their hearts as well. I invite us now to a time for quiet rest, meditation, or prayer. I will sound the singing bowl, and then I invite us to settle more fully into our seats and deepen our breath. And as we inhale, to breathe in peace, and as we slowly exhale, to breathe out peace to others around us.
This morning's wisdom reading includes selected quotes from Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. I wish, as well as everybody else, to be perfectly happy. But like everybody else, it must be in my own way. Know your own happiness. You want nothing but patience, Or give it a more fascinating name, call it hope. Do not let the behavior of others destroy your inner peace. To wish was to hope, and to hope was to expect. It's not what we think or feel that makes us who we are. It's what we do or fail to do. For when people are determined on a mode of conduct which they know to be wrong, they feel injured by the expectation of anything better from them.
So today we continue our series on spirituality and story as seen in Jane Austen's novels. Of course, last week we dove in with her most popular work, Pride and Prejudice, and today we're looking at Sense and Sensibility. Now, I clearly remember my first reading of Sense and Sensibility. I was a teenager, and I loved the book. But I found the title just a bit confusing. I thought both the words indicated what it was to be sensible. Now, if you've read the novel, or if you choose to do so at some point, there are a handful of characters who operate with good sense. But most of the people in the novel are ruled by their emotions, or just sometimes even lack of common sense. And especially as a teenager, one who did not have a fully developed frontal lobe yet, I was curious and wanting to figure out how I could operate in a very rational way and not be ruled by the emotions I felt so deeply. Now, it was only much later, many years later, I came to understand how the word sensibility was used during Austen's time. The word sense pretty much means the same things it does today. But sensibility does not. It does not mean to be sensible, which I think is what we tend to assume in today's world. Now, sensibility back then in Austen's time, a couple hundred years ago, meant being emotional. Or to use a common phrase that younger people use today, we might say, having all the feels, right? Now, with this understanding, Austen's title becomes more clear. Sense and Sensibility. It's about being rational and thoughtful, and about being emotional and feeling. Now, Austen had originally named the book Eleanor and Marianne, which leads us to the synopsis of this book. Now, if you have not read this book, I want to recommend the best movie adaptation. It's a 1995 Oscar-winning production, which starred Emma Thompson and Kate Winslet. And if you have Canopy, which is the free library streaming app, it's on there. So I also want to thank Anne for finding some music from that adaptation, which is what she's playing for our special music today. So the story begins with the Dashwood family. They are a wealthy family of landed gentry. And as the working title lets you know, Eleanor and Marianne, the two primary characters, those are the two older of three sisters in that family. The father is dying. Now, he is surrounded by his loving wife, his three daughters, Eleanor and Marianne being young women. Now, he has an older son from a first marriage, and because of the laws at that time period, the son will inherit everything. And Mr. Dashwood understands the financial dire circumstances that will leave his wife and three daughters in. And so he entreats his son upon his deathbed to provide care for his stepmother, a woman who had helped raise him from the time he was a child, and his 3 sisters. And lets them know that if you don't take care of them, their circumstances will be very challenging. Now, the young Dashwood son, he has very good intentions, and even is thinking about a generous monetary gift to the 4 of them. But yet, he has a greedy and cunning wife. Now, one of the best pieces of writing that I think Austen offers is a short paragraph where he lets his wife know, this is what I think I'm going to do. In just a few short sentences, she gradually takes him to understand what she believes. You know, certainly your father never intended for you actually to give them money. There are other ways to be helpful. So Mrs. Dashwood and her 3 daughters are without very much money at all. A little bit of money that had been settled upon her as a bride. But thankfully, she has a distant cousin who provides a small but suitable house for the family. And of course, it's quite a ways away from Norwood, this home they had always known. The oldest daughter, Eleanor, is very practical and sensible. It is through her very good common sense and reasoning skills that the family is able to stay within their meager income. Now, there's lots going on while this is going on, too. Before the family leaves Norwood, Eleanor meets her sister-in-law's brother, who is quite different from the sister-in-law, just about opposite, falls for him, believes he might care for her, but there's some things just not quite adding up, and so she keeps all her emotions and feelings inside. Once the family moves, the middle daughter, Mary Ann, is a very emotive young woman who wears her heart on her sleeve. She is full of sensibility. So a dashing man, straight out of a romance story, he captures her heart, and she is not afraid to let anyone know of her feelings. Of course, deep heartbreak soon follows. So, rational Eleanor, very emotive Mary Ann. As their journeys continue, they cross paths with some very kind-hearted people. And some, even though they're kind-hearted, might not have the best sense. And they also cross paths with some very greedy people who don't care who they harm. And during their journeys of heartbreak and an eventual happy ending for both of them, although it may not be the happy ending you think it's going to be, the 2 women began to understand each other in a new light. They had never quite understood. Mary Ann could not understand how Eleanor, she felt, just didn't have a heart because she was just so rational thinking. Eleanor thought that Mary Ann needed to keep better control of her emotions and feelings. But they began to understand each other in a better light. And their bond of sisterhood grows much stronger and much beyond sisters, but to best friends. Now, when I think about the ideas about reason and emotionality, I can't help but think about Platonic dualism from Greek philosophy. And this, y'all know I mentioned this if you've heard me preach during these last 3 years. I occasionally bring up Platonic dualism, right? Because it has marked our Western society in so many ways that we can't even begin to understand. Now, Plato believed that men were a higher life form than women. He believed men were very rational creatures who were ruled by intellect. And thus, because their thank you, y'all can laugh, okay? Thus, their intellect, gave them this thought process that they were much higher spiritual beings. that one had to use their intellect for some kind of spiritual connection. He also taught that women were lesser beings. They were ruled by emotions and irrationality. How many times do we still hear that today? Oh, women are just too irrational for X, Y, or Z, right? All the time. He also taught that they were confined by their connection to their bodies and thus were limited spiritually. For Plato, spirituality was all in the head. Now we know Plato was wrong in several ways. We absolutely know that men and women alike are capable of great intellect and great rationality. We also know that he was wrong in discounting how embodiment in connection with creation was not a path to spiritual consciousness. We know that embodiment and our connection with creation, that's some of our principal values. That is one of the primary ways, necessary ways, that we grow in our spirituality. Now, when one reads Sense and Sensibility, I think it's easy for us to say, and this was certainly what I thought as a teenager, that the older daughter, Eleanor, who was always so rational and practical, that she was the one to admire. She was the one to admire. But Mary Ann, with all the feels, had so much to teach us as well. When she is forced to leave her family home after her father's death, she and her sisters and mother, she bemoans the loss of all the extensive woodlands, and especially all the dying leaves from the forest trees. Now, Austen wrote these words about Mary Ann and dying leaves. "Oh," cried Mary Ann, "with what transporting sensation have I formerly seen them fall? How have I delighted as I've walked to see them driven in showers about me by the wind? What feelings have they, the season, the air altogether inspired? But now there is no one left to regard them. They are seen only as a nuisance, swept hastily off, and driven as much as possible from the sight." Now, Eleanor responds, the typical big sister who's teasing her younger sister would, and notes that not everyone has Mary Ann's passion for dead leaves. Austen's novels are filled with so much humor and wit. It's quite enjoyable. Even while a philosophical debate is going on between these two sisters, there's room for humor and laughter. It is both sensible and rational, and connects with our heart and our soul to engage with creation, with the shade from well-loved trees and from the crunch of leaves fallen on the ground each autumn. Our mind, body, and spirit all grow and expand during that time of the year. A healthy spirituality understands that we need to incorporate our minds, our bodies, and our spirits, our souls equally, sense and sensibility. If we only stay in our heads, in our intellect and rational thought, if that's the only place we go with our spiritual journey, then we deny the teachings of our spirits and that divine presence, that divine light which resides in each one of us. We deny the teachings of creation all around us. And if we only pay attention to feelings and emotions, we're not using the brains we were born to use. Now, I know that some of you have heard of John Wesley. He was an Anglican priest in the 1700s, and he started the Reform movement, which became known as Methodism. He is one of the most influential spiritual leaders since the Reformation. Now, one of his teachings is something that's a theological concept that is studied by many. It's called the Wesleyan quadrilateral. The Wesleyan quadrilateral refers to 4 foundations for the spiritual journey. And he identified 4 things as necessary for the spiritual journey: reason, experience, tradition, scriptures. Now, as we think about sense and sensibility, I want to modernize the Wesleyan quadrilateral for our purposes today and for our church family. What are the 4 things that are necessary for us as a foundation? Reason, keep that language the exact same. Instead of experience, embodiment, a different way of looking at experience. Instead of tradition, connection with ancestors. Instead of scripture, wisdom teachings. Because we know we get wisdom from so many different teachings. Now, I encourage us today to take these 4 aspects of the spiritual journey as vital for our spiritual health and well-being. Reason, using our capacity to learn, to comprehend, to imagine, envision, and teach. Embodiment, listening to our bodies, our inner divine light, our hearts, our instinct, our gut. Great wisdom resides in these aspects of who we are. Connection with the ancestors. Now, whether that's those who've gone before us that we are related to, or perhaps wise teachers and revolutionaries and saints throughout history, people who encourage our own path. The traditions of our ancestors have so much wisdom to offer us on our own spiritual journey. And wisdom teachings. There are countless sacred writings from so many spiritual paths, and the inspiration and encouragement they offer to us is boundless. Now, a healthy spiritual journey incorporates a balanced approach with both reason and emotion. We utilize reason and embodiment, connection with ancestors, and wisdom teachings. And especially today, I give thanks for the wisdom found in Austen's writings. So today, let us give thanks for wise teachings and for inspirational stories. And let us remember this new quadrilateral of reason, embodiment, connection with ancestors, and wisdom teachings. Let us remember that these things will help guide us along a healthy spiritual journey. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen.
Thank you, Anne. That was beautiful. Let there now be an offering to sustain and strengthen this place, which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and hope, for we are now the keepers of that dream. This month we're sharing our offering plate with PFLAG Salisbury, Rowan. Founded in 1973, PFLAG was the nation's largest organization dedicated to supporting, educating, and advocating for LGBTQ plus people and those who love them. PFLAG Salisbury Rowan was formed in 2006. The Scholarship Foundation was started in 2008, and as of 2024, they have given over $108,000 to deserving Rowan County High School seniors, public, private, and homeschooled, who identify as LGBTQ or as an ally. Our hosts will now pass around our baskets, and we ask you to pass the baskets down the row when you receive them. You may place it, your gift that is, in the baskets as they make their way around the room. And of course, you're always welcome to give online at puuc.org or by texting PUUC at the number 73256. Today's offering will now gratefully be received.
We give thanks for these generous gifts from your heart, which enable us to continue to share love throughout this world. I invite you now to please rise and body your spirit for our closing hymn, found in your gray hymnal, number 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Love will guide
Before we extinguish our chalice, I offer thanks to all the many volunteers who helped make our service possible today. I also ask, before you leave, if you can take your hymnals and place them on the cart near the piano. That's always a big help. Now let's do as we do each Sunday and take a moment to give thanks, either in our hearts or with words for others to hear, for the things for which we are grateful today.
Thankful for our immigrant neighbors.
For our immigrant neighbors, yes.
Thankful for Reverend Amy being president of prayer vigil at Salisbury last night.
Thank you. Thank you. We had a wonderful prayer vigil, interfaith prayer vigil in Salisbury for immigrant safety last night.
I'm grateful to finally have a bird feeder that's feeding the birds and not the squirrels.
Okay, and it's grateful to have a bird feeder that's feeding the birds and not the squirrels, and I think probably we all would like to know how that happened, but yeah.
I'm grateful to Sam and so wonderful. It was an auction item and about 12 or 14 years. Yeah. So it was a lot of work.
And Sam and Reese's auction item, and when we have our auction next spring, you can bid on that too. Oh, okay, Reese is saying she's not gonna get, okay.
When I get through cleaning the dishes today, I'll let you know.
Okay, we'll let you know. You've got time, you'll have enough time to recover, so.
I'm grateful for our expanding choir.
Yes, grateful for our expanding choir, yes.
Working air conditioning.
Working air conditioning, amen. Yeah, I didn't have power for almost a whole day last week, so I was very grateful when the air came back on too. So, and Wi-Fi, right, so I can email y'all.
I am grateful for COVID relief fund checks.
Yes.
We are grateful for COVID relief funds checks, yes, for our church. It's been wonderful, good news. So, well, we are grateful for all these things and so much more which we hold in our hearts today. Let's now go forth, sharing love, community, hope with the world around us. Amen. We now extinguish our chalice, but we carry its light and its warmth and its meaning with us until we meet again. May we go in peace, believe in peace, create peace wherever we may wander. May it be so. Now for our closing song, we form a circle. You may hold hands if you would like, or you may simply place your hands on your heart.